Hey guys, please don't forget to subscribe. I'm trying so hard to get to 15,000 subscribers before the beginning of the NFL season. I would greatly appreciate it if you can subscribe. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. Let's get to it.
Darnold is going to shock people by continuing to be Sam Darnold. I know a lot of people are like, this is the year he's Samuel Darnold. Nope, same guy he's always been. It's just going to keep happening. I thought I came up with the idea that they should consider trading for Mac Jones this morning, but evidently Wilds had it a month ago, which makes me think it's a bad one. I feel badly for Justin Jefferson, but he'll still have 1,200 yards at least because he's Justin Jefferson. This is where I slide a little bit away from Greg. The Green Bay Packers, and they missed the playoffs. Wow. So I still don't trust the defense. Don't get mad at me, Wilds. I know they played well for 3 quarters against the Chiefs. That was an argument from last year. Everyone loves Jeff Hafley. They're like, oh my God, their new D coordinator was the head coach at Boston College. And I'm like, listen, I'm not Chris the Bear Fallica, but I never think Boston College, that defense just crushes. No, they don't.
Watch the tape.
Well, I did. It's not great. And I play with them on NCAA 25 sometimes. The personnel's not terrible. And so they're going to do a lot of single high. I don't get it. The no A.J. Dillon is a big deal. That's new. Major kicker worries. They just cut the kicker that they drafted a year ago, and real expectations. Last year, this team was 6-8, and then beat Bryce Young, Jaron Hall, and Justin Fields. That's how they made the playoffs. And then, yes, they were brilliant for 6 quarters of playoffs. The whole game against the Cowboys, the first half of the divisional round. But then I just think progress is not linear in this league. Sometimes you're looking good, take a step back, and then go. I think the Packers, there's going to be a lot of people who pick them to go to the Super Bowl. I think that they have a year similar to last year, 8 or 9 wins, but this year it's not enough to make the playoffs.
Okay. So I'm going to do this differently than I originally thought. I'm going to keep this just a Packers video right now because he has the Packers missing the playoffs. Packers fans, let's take that in for a second. He has the Packers missing the playoffs, and he has the Chicago Bears going to the Super Bowl. So it's not like he's saying, well, okay, this is going to be a great division, and these teams are all going to be in the playoffs, and he still maybe believes in the Bears. But not only is he saying that the Bears are going to be in the Super Bowl, but the Packers won't even make the playoffs. I'm a little speechless with that one. That's why I was like, how do I want to do this? Do I want to just talk about the NFC North as a whole? Do I want to talk about the teams individually? Originally, I thought this video was going to be me talking about the Lions and the Packers because I think they're both great teams. And I was going to, I'm already thinking like, make the joke like, hey, this is where I'm going to annoy both Packers fans and Lions fans for that matter, because I'm going to say they're both really good. Here we go. And so they're going to be angry at that, the two fan bases. And then when I realized, okay, he's going to put Chicago Bears number 1, maybe I'll make a Chicago Bears video. But now when I see that he has the Packers not making the playoffs, that's where I'm like, this has to just be Packers video. I might make another video like this where I'll talk about the Lions and the Bears and maybe just talk about the Bears potentially winning the division, all that type of stuff. But to have the Packers not even make the playoffs, I find so insane, so wild. We talk about disrespect. Nick is all about this idea of what's disrespectful. I don't like to look at things through that lens personally. He said that when they didn't think that the Chiefs were going to win the Super Bowl, that's disrespectful. He even said recently that the Bills not being favored to win the division, that's disrespectful. Which again, I actually defended against and said it's not disrespectful. It's just you can make logical reasons for certain outcomes. It's not disrespectful to say that they're not going to win the division or that the Chiefs shouldn't be favored against, say, the Ravens. Like it's not disrespectful. It's just logic. I'm failing to see the logic to say that the Packers won't make the playoffs. Like, you want to talk about disrespect? That is disrespectful. To say that the Chicago Bears are going to skyrocket past the Packers. That the Bears have been struggling for decades and that the Packers, who have been building something now for years, have an experienced quarterback now at this point, have an experienced, great top offensive head coach. They have their weapons. They fortified their defense. That the Packers are just going to completely... It would be a collapse for them to be considered one of the best teams in the NFL for the last 10 games or so, to have Jordan Love be considered the best quarterback in the NFL for those last 10 games, just statistically, which you guys know I don't love just to use statistics for that, but that's the argument, to then not even making the playoffs. That would be an epic collapse, an epic come down to earth moment, where Jordan Love is just not that good of a quarterback. Matt LaFleur is just not that good of a coach. Those young weapons that are ascending for the Packers is just not good. They just were able to catch some lightning in the bottle. And to say that this is how the Packers got in the playoffs by beating Bryce Young and Justin Fields, that's so misleading. That's really misleading for many reasons. Because first off, the Packers beat the Chiefs, right? Jordan Love was playing great, and he was doing so, and that offense as a whole was doing so, against other great defenses as well. You want to talk about beating Justin Fields and the Bears? First off, the Chicago Bears have a really good defense. They have potentially a top defense in the NFL, especially if they continue their trend of their final 6 games, I think it is. Yes, the Packers didn't get off to the strongest start. I understand that. I understand that. But if Nick wants to use that as his logic, well, then we have to use the logic, well, the Chiefs only made the playoffs because they beat the Chargers, who were trash, beat the Raiders, who were trash, and beat the Broncos, who were trash. That's the only reason why the Chiefs made it to the playoffs. We can't pick and choose when we want to say those things then. Okay? We can't just say that's the only reason why they won the playoffs because they beat those teams. Well, then say that for the Chiefs. And again, if you want to just say, well, hey, the Chiefs ended up winning the Super Bowl, sure, I understand that, but we're now using this other logic to lead up what's possible moving forward. And so if we're using our past as an idea of what is possible, then you wouldn't be able to use that in a way to pull down the Packers, but then elevate another team. The logic has to be consistent. It has to be consistent when we are going to apply these things. So there is really no logic. You can't use the logical conclusion, well, they beat up on the Panthers and the Bears, and I forget what other team he said. And that's why he's essentially saying it was misleading. It was fool's gold. They weren't actually as good as they seemed. They just played bad teams, and then even in the playoffs, they played 6 good quarters. They were the youngest team, and they went on the road and demolished the team that Nick Wright said was going to the Super Bowl, the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott was the MVP. And the Green Bay Packers embarrassed them. So even if that was the only good game that they played, and let's say they just played terrible against the 49ers, which I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying let's say that was the case, it would still be insanely impressive that the Green Bay Packers went on the road with the youngest team and demolished and embarrassed the Dallas Cowboys, a team that not even just Nick Wright, but a lot of people were buying in. Colin Cowherd, all the guys at ESPN, Nick Wright, they were all buying in on the Dallas Cowboys. Colin had a whole thing about it saying, look how the margin of how much the Cowboys are beating these other teams. When football teams historically do this, they typically all win the Super Bowl. He was actually buying in it. He was a little skeptical to a degree, but he was still buying in it. They all were. And the Cowboys came in and said no from the jump. That was one of the most impressive games I've ever seen. And no, it wasn't just a fluke. It wasn't just a fluke. That's the thing that's insane. It was because the Packers are a better team. They were a better team, and they are a better team. It's amazing. He has the Dallas Cowboys winning the division, and has the Dallas Cowboys obviously making the playoffs, and yet the Packers not. He has the Chicago Bears making the playoffs, winning the division, and the Packers not. He has the Lions making the playoffs, the Packers not. That is pretty fascinating to me. I mean, I don't know. I know he's low on Jordan Love. He thinks Jordan Love is more fool's gold. He is not a fan of what Jordan Love has done. And he says that success in football is not linear. He is correct about that. That is true. But they've already gone through their ups and downs. Jordan Love has already kind of been this slow progression. Demolishing the Dallas Cowboys and then not playing great, not playing terrible, but they did not take care of business against the 49ers. They absolutely could have won that game and they lost more on them, but it's totally fine, totally understandable. That is technically a step back because they could have won and they didn't. Better believe that they are going to take another step forward. Better believe that Jordan Love is going to take another step forward. Better believe Matt LaFleur is going to continue to take many steps forward as he's done year after year after year for being a great top-level young head coach. He found his quarterback. He has those weapons. They have the experience. They have true playoff experience. They know what it's like to win, especially on the road, which is wildly important. And they know what it's like to lose a game that they feel that they should have won, which is also important. All the greats have had to go through that. They got to do it in the same year. That is going to springboard them into success this season. I'm not saying the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying they're making the Super Bowl because I have no idea. Truly, I have no idea. But I am very, very confident that the Packers are going to make the playoffs. That I do know. That I am very confident about. And I think it's just insanity to say that the Packers are going to miss the playoffs. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think the Packers are actually going to miss the playoffs? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.